You were taught that life is a linear path. Work hard, delay gratification, aim at the right targets, and progress will reward you. That belief keeps you weak because it anchors your identity to outcomes you do not control. It makes you a hostage to results, feelings, and the approval of people who do not think about you when they go to sleep. You were taught to treat happiness as a destination. Study, grind, achieve, and one day you will feel complete. That script guarantees chronic tension. The nervous system reads future gain as present lack. The more you chase the feeling of being enough, the more your brain tags your current state as not enough. You wire your mind to interpret effort as evidence of deficiency. That is the loop. Here is the rule that cuts that loop. Alan Watts called it the backwards law. It sits at the core of his view of the game of life. The more you try to catch a state like happiness, confidence, or security, the more it slips. The less you chase it as a payoff, the more it shows up as a side effect. So stop playing to secure a feeling. Play to play. Engage the task for its own sake. Drop the demand that it completes you. The paradox is not mystical. It is mechanical. This is not a soft idea. It is not a motivational slogan. It is a control principle. Stoics framed it as the dichotomy of control. Attend to what is yours. Release what is not. Machiavelli described a similar posture toward fortune. You cultivate virtue, the flexible capacity to act, and you adapt to conditions without clinging. Alan Watts translated that into daily life. What you grasp, it escapes. What you meet directly allows you to act with clarity. Notice the contrast. There are outcome addicts. They move only when the reward feels close. They self-monitor every move, check metrics, rehearse their image in real time. They burn energy on self-surveillance and call it discipline. If they win, they feel temporary relief. If they stall, they desert their post. They oscillate between spikes of effort and collapses of will. Then there are process sovereigns. They do the work because the work is their practice. They move without begging reality to confirm their worth. Results still matter to them, but they do not worship results. They improve faster because attention is available for learning instead of self-defense. Why does the backwards law work? The brain runs on prediction and error signals. When you pin your identity to an outcome, you inflate the cost of any deviation. Your amygdala flags risk. Your prefrontal cortex tightens control. Motor patterns lose fluidity. This is the choke effect that ruins performance under pressure. The more you chase a feeling like confidence, the more you scan for signs that you do not have it. White bear effects appear. What you suppress rebounds. This is well documented. Wegner called it ironic process theory. Viktor Frankl used paradoxical intention in therapy. Ask the nervous system to chase a feeling, and it resists. Ask it to do the task with no demand for a feeling, and it calms. The reward system splits wanting and liking. Dopamine drives the pursuit. Opioid networks tag satisfaction. When you build your life around wanting, wanting never completes. You stay in the loop of almost there. You keep the reward dangling to preserve drive. Marketers understand this. Social platforms engineer variable rewards to keep you reaching. You can keep chasing. Or you can leverage the system by playing. You engage fully in the present move. You allow wanting to attach to the practice, not the proof. Alan Watts did not argue for laziness. He argued for unforced action. In Taoist terms, Wu Wei, do what the situation calls for without fighting the situation. Remove the extra friction that comes from trying to force reality into a promise it never made you. Stoicism meets this at a different angle. Amor fati. Accept the conditions and use them. Neither view is passive. Both eliminate a category error. You do not get to demand that the world gives you a permanent emotional guarantee. You get to meet the world with skill. Let us raise the stakes. The belief you were taught does not only waste effort, it makes you easy to move. If your identity is attached to outcomes, whoever controls the scoreboard controls your mood. If your self-worth depends on visible gains, you will accept bad terms to keep your numbers alive. In politics, business, and relationships, this is how control works. Offer metrics, withhold approval, then watch people trade autonomy for comfort. The backwards law immunizes you. When the act is the reward, you stop negotiating your agency for small hits of reassurance. The game of life rule is simple, and it is difficult. Stop running emotional debt. Do the action, because it is the action that aligns with who you choose to be. If you write, write. If you train, train. If you speak, speak. No performance with a gun to your head. No outcome that must arrive before you are allowed to be at peace. Targets remain. You use them as constraints. You stop worshiping them as meaning. People worry that this kills ambition. It does the opposite. It puts ambition on a stronger base. Treat goals as instruments. Use them to shape behavior and measure feedback. Do not let them define your worth. The focus moves from self to skill, from image to contact with reality. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi called the state that follows flow. Clear goals, immediate feedback, and challenges matched capacity. Flow is not a mood. It is a function of attention. The backwards law promotes it by reducing self-reference. If you need examples, look at war rooms, trading floors, and operating theaters. Decision makers who fixate on outcomes during the move degrade. They clutch, they hesitate. They overfit to the last loss. Professionals who treat each move as their practice stay sharp under stress. They measure after the move. They adjust. Machiavelli was clinical about this. He advised rulers to learn how not to be good when conditions require it. That line is often misunderstood. The point is simple. Stop clinging to a preferred feeling about yourself. Contact the facts. Act cleanly. Then measure again. Evolutionary biology adds a blunt truth. Organisms that waste energy on unnecessary signaling lose to organisms that allocate energy to effective action. Virtue signaling, in the literal sense, burns resources that could have been spent on problem solving. In human terms, constant displays of deserving status drain attention. The backwards law conserves attention for the task. Let us move deeper. Why does dropping the demand for a payoff feel like a threat? Because you were trained to believe that tension equals significance. If it hurts, it must be important. If you are calm, you must not care enough. That is false. The Yerkes-Dodson law shows performance rises with arousal up to a point, then falls. Chronic over-arousal is a tax. Calm focus is an asset, not a signal of low drive. High performers across fields cultivate smooth attention on purpose. They are not less ambitious. They are less attached to the noise. Here is the next uncomfortable idea. Many of your preferences are not yours. They are external scripts installed by repetition. Family, school, platforms, memorized worries. They reward you for chasing what they can sell you. Then they offer relief when you cannot catch it. You can stay inside that algorithm. Or you can step outside of it by refusing the premise. You do not need a feeling before you do what you know is right for you. You do not need applause before you practice your craft. You do not need a guarantee before you start. The Stoics used negative visualization to cut attachment. Imagine loss, not to suffer early, but to dissolve the fantasy that you cannot function without a specific outcome. When you stop insisting on guarantees, you become hard to move. This is not nihilism. It is competence. You keep desires. You keep standards. You remove the belief that your life is over if they are delayed or denied. You cannot be coerced by your own fear. There is a psychological mechanism that explains why this gains power over time. Allostatic load is the cost of chronic control efforts. Trying to hold every variable in place makes the system brittle. When you drop control that is not yours, you lower load. Your executive function recovers. Working memory improves. You process complexity faster. Calm is not a mood. It is a resource allocation pattern that leaves more bandwidth for strategy. Now address the common objection. If I do not chase, will I not drift? Only if you confuse clinging with commitment. Commitment is choosing. Clinging is fearing. Commitment sets a direction, then returns to the action now. Clinging stares at the horizon and stumbles over the step in front of you. You need direction. You do not need self-judgment every minute you walk. The backwards law removes the self-judgment and keeps the step. Identity shift follows. You stop calling yourself a striver. You become a practitioner. Your worth is not a trophy. Your worth is your posture toward reality. You do not have to explain this to anyone. People will sense it. You will talk less about what you will do. You will do more of it. That is how respect is built when the room is serious. There is another edge here. The backwards law frees you from the false binary between detachment and engagement. You can be fully engaged without being entangled. You can care without being owned by outcomes. You can love a person and still see them clearly. You can run a company and still shut a project that no longer works. Detachment is not distance. It is clarity. If you want a tight frame to use this. Seek clarity, not certainty. Clarity will show you the next move. Certainty will lock you to a plan that stopped matching reality 3 weeks ago. Clarity thrives when you stop demanding a specific feeling in advance. Certainty is the drug of people who fear admitting they do not control the board. Allan Watts did not tell you to quit the world. He told you to stop arguing with it. Life is not a factory line that rewards suffering with meaning. It is a set of interactions that reward contact with reality with competence. When you adopt the game of life rule, you remove the fear tax, you preserve your sight, and you become someone who can act cleanly when others tense up. That gives you an advantage that compounds. Use contrasts in your own audit. Outcome addict or process sovereign. Approval chaser or skill builder. Identity validator or reality contactor. You do not need to announce which you are. Your day will show it. If your day is built on refreshing, comparing, waiting, and explaining, the old belief still runs you. If your day is built on practice, feedback, adjustment, and rest, the rule is taking root. Here is a specific mental move that embeds it. When you feel the urge to secure a feeling before acting, ask a direct question. If this were already guaranteed, would I still do this? If the answer is yes, do it now without bargaining. If the answer is no, you are about to act only to negotiate emotion, not progress. That one question exposes many tricks your mind uses to waste time. Understand the social cost. People who rely on your compliance will not like this. Offers that depend on your insecurity will lose effect. You will be called cold, arrogant, or aloof. Ignore it. You are not refusing connection. You are refusing manipulation. You can be warm and present without paying with self-betrayal. At the highest tier, mastery looks quiet. It is not suppressing emotion. It is holding sensation without panic and moving anyway. You feel fear, boredom, excitement, and you do not permit any of them to vote against the right action. This does not make you a machine. It makes you a human being who is no longer outsourced to feelings that shift every 20 minutes. If you want to see the historical pattern, study those who held their shape under shifting conditions. Seneca running an empire while writing about calm. Musashi refining technique until it looked like nothing. Traders who survived by cutting losses without drama. None of them played for a permanent feeling. They played to play well. Results followed as a byproduct. Now you choose. You can keep the belief that has you chasing a moving target, resenting the present, and praying that a future stamp of approval will fix your mind. Or you can lift the rule and apply it. The rule is not complicated. Stop trying to secure a feeling before you act. Put your attention on the action that aligns with your chosen direction. Measure after the move. Adjust. Repeat. Most people will nod and return to the loop. They will treat this as interesting. Then they will feed the same machine that keeps them anxious. Do not be most people. You are either building autonomy or you are donating it. The world is not neutral about your attention. Entire industries exist to monetize your chase. The minority learn to step aside. Here is the call. Prove that you heard this. For the next 7 days, pick one domain that matters. Work it by the rule. No bargaining. No waiting for a mood. No checking for applause in the middle of the set. Do the action. Let the feeling arrive when it does. Watch what happens to your output, your anxiety, and your respect for yourself. You do not need to announce this experiment. You will know if it worked. If this landed, you are not the average viewer. You are part of the few who can hold two ideas at once. Desire without clinging. Action without panic. If you are ready to keep training that, stay close. If you are not ready, that is fine. This is not for everyone. It never was. The game is simple, and it is relentless. Play it well, and you are free. Play it wrong, and you are owned. Choose.